With the new year coming in, it is time to finish the final of my 3 annual videos, which is my top 20 coaster list. Last year, I got to revisit Disney World, Universal, SeaWorld Orlando, and multiple Six Flags parks, and added the Fun Spot parks and Six Flags Over Georgia with 24 new roller coaster credits. So, here's my list for 2023. Let's dive in. Let's start with the honorable mentions. Number 30, The Incredible Hulk, Islands of Adventure by B&M. Number 29, Manta at SeaWorld Orlando by B&M. Number 28, Kingda at Six Flags Great Adventure, built by Intamin. Number 27, Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England, built by Intamin. Number 26, Apollo's Chariot at Busch Gardens Williamsburg by B&M. Number 25, Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia by B&M. Number 24, Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure at Islands of Adventure, built by Intamin. Number 26, Nitro at Six Flags Great Adventure, built by B&M. Number 22, Boulder Dash at Lake Compounce, built by CCI. Number 21, Diamondback at Kings Island, built by B&M. Before we start the top 20, let's look at the numbers. There are 5 B&Ms, 8 Intamins, 6 RMCs, and 1 Lonely GCI. We have 3 launch coasters, 2 wooden coasters, and 3 Gigas. As for 2022, it brought in 3 new coasters to my top 20. Let's take a look. Number 20, Orion at Kings Island, built by B&M. The lowest of my 3 Giga credits, this ride is just pure fun. It lacks true length for the size of the ride, and it could probably use a pair of more standout moments, but it's as re-rideable as they come, and I can never really complain about speed, floater airtime, and those clamshell restraints. Less important, but I do really appreciate the theming, even if it isn't crazy in depth. Number 19, Fahrenheit at HersheyPark, built by Intamin. What feels like the child of a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster and an Intamin Blitz, snappy elements are what define this ride. The inversions will throw you around, and the shake of the Cobra Roll remains in my head. Now, the drop and singular airtime hill are some of the best airtime moments around, so if you can brave the long lines from the low capacity, this ride is a very underrated attraction. Number 18, New Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas, built by RMC. The original is my lowest RMC, but is no means a slouch of a ride. The airtime is all there, and the ride is longer than most of Rocky Mountain Construction's creations. However, it is missing their elite inversions that really boost other rides that they built. If this was done 5 years later, it would probably be a top 10 coaster, but the prototype holds its own. Number 17, Alpengeist at Busch Gardens Williamsburg by B&M. No longer my favorite invert, but still hanging on to its top 20 spot, this ride is massive, and it feels every bit of it through the first half. It really hauls through the first set of huge inversions, and while the mid-course is hit or miss now, the rattle is constantly overstated. And this is an intense ride that supplies some of the best thrills of the park and of the model. Number 16, Skyrush at HersheyPark by Intamin. This ride continues to slip as it continues to become a rougher ride. The restraints aren't great, but they don't bother me nearly as much as some. And the short ride is an issue, but the quality of the elements is really crazy, to the point where I can almost overlook all the flaws of this ride. Almost. The former top 6 coaster of mine is drifting. I would love to see the next gen trains implemented on this to really improve the ride experience. Number 15, Banshee at Kings Island by B&M. It took the longest invert to unseat the tallest invert. Banshee is borderline unrideable in the back half of the train, but the front is a very different story. It is as relentless as it is long, and it remains one of the few rides that really leaves me speechless afterwards. If it was as smooth as the other inverts, this could easily be a top 10 ride for me, but the headaches that can come with it will keep it lower. Number 14, Stormrunner at HersheyPark, built by Intamin. The tight ranking of Hershey coasters continues. In my opinion, Intamin's best accelerator is the most complete of the model that I've ridden. It may not be the tallest or the fastest, but it packs the same punch and throws in some inversions to boot. Not to mention the snake dive is as unique and fun as one can ask for. I look forward to finally getting my first rides in the last few years. Number 13, Twisted Cyclone at Six Flags Over Georgia by RMC. Short but powerful, while it lacks the big third lap of its sister coaster up north, this thing supplies the trademarked RMC airtime throughout, and it has some pretty snappy inversions too. The wave turn and barrel Cobra roll are memorable, but it still leaves you wanting just a bit more, especially when it's hauling in that Georgia heat. Number 12, Jersey Devil Coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure, built by RMC. The one and only single rail coaster, this disappointed me when I rode it 2 days after it opened. It lacked pop, it didn't really have the speed I was expecting, and the ending had zero forces. However, after a year of tweaks and possibly new wheels or a new wheel assembly, this thing is hauling, and every bit of it really pops now. Every moment flings you into those shoulder straps, and the stall steals the show. If the trains were a little bit more comfy on the legs and shoulders, it may steal a spot or two. Number 11, Candymonium at HersheyPark by B&M. The best modern example of how great B&M has gotten at what they do. Maximizing airtime on drops and camelbacks, fun turnarounds, and implementing speed hills and off-axis airtime to make one of the best designed coasters. Add in a scenic finale and we just have a fun ride, as re-rideable as a coaster can be, and it plays as a perfect complement to Skyrush. Number 10, Mako at SeaWorld Orlando by B&M. My favorite B&M hyper by just a hair. It shares a ton of similarities with Candymonium, from the elements to the finale, but it seems to just have a tad bit more bite and airtime, and a nicer location overall. It has the slightest touch of a rattle, but it doesn't really affect the ride experience at all. Simply put, it's one of the best B&Ms in the world. Number 9, Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England by RMC. The older sibling to Twisted Cyclone, this hybrid is special, and foot for foot might be the best coaster in the world. The drop is incredible, and it doesn't really let up till the end. The stall is the standout moment of this ride, and that third lap makes such a complete difference. It can run slower in the morning, but when it's running at its best, that third lap doesn't lack at all, and it just goes crazy. Number 8, Millennium Force at Cedar Point by Intamin. Perhaps my most biased pick, but it doesn't matter. It has the drop, the face-melting speed, and one of the best train designs ever. It may lack some memorable elements, but it makes up for it in the trek out across half the park. It's a ride that may not scratch everyone's thrill itch, but it hits mine every time. Number 7, Mystic Timbers at Kings Island by GCI. About as far from the last coaster in terms of style, but pretty close in location. This is the best a small-scale Woody can be. It's strong, relentless, the airtime just doesn't stop, but it doesn't cross that line and becoming uncomfortable either. A strong night ride, a bit of theming, and a glossy smooth wooden coaster experience, this ride is damn near perfect for what it is, and I would want one in every park. Number 6, El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure by Intimate. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. From structural issues to a derailment, this has not been a pretty few years for the king of the wooden coaster. However, if the park puts in the time to get this airtime machine right, there are very few rides that can match it. 4 of the greatest airtime moments and strong overall layout make this prefab a must-ride for any enthusiast. Number 5, Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion by RMC. We covered a damn near perfect small-scale wooden coaster, so here is a damn near perfect small-scale hybrid coaster. The strength of the airtime, the whip of the inversions, it was a blur during my first ride. It took re-rides for the adrenaline to let the ride really settle in. Every element just works, it keeps getting better, and with the underrated cutback always leaving me wanting to hop back in line. Number 4, Maverick at Cedar Point by Intamin. Another smaller in height coaster, just done to near perfection. They almost scored 100 on the prototype, but Intamin ushered in a new wave of rides here. A complete layout, snappy, it's really only missing one thing, and that's a top hat with height. Maybe the restraints could be a little bit better, but they're not that annoying, and it doesn't really hinder the unique and insane ride experience that really fits the Maverick name. Number 3, Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion by Intimate. The greatest one-trick pony around. The closest thing to surviving a fighter jet. The Intensity King is something that will always make me gasp. Sure, it isn't perfect by any means, and it may not feature some of the forces that I usually ask for in a ride. But sometimes something does one thing so well that it doesn't really need standout airtime or snappy inversions, because it breaks the scale on its one signature thing. That's G-Force. Number 2, Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure, built by Intimate. From the best one-trick pony to the most complete ride experience in the world. Now ask yourself, what do you like in a coaster? I promise this has it. A pair of strong launches? Check. Strong airtime throughout the ride? Check. A top hat, unique inversion, scenic location? Check, check, check. Oh, and it's the best themed coaster in the world, at least thrill-wise. Now, I could list every single element and rave about almost all of them, and forget the detailed queue, the incredible next-gen intimate trains, or even the lightning-fast operations from the crew. All I really need to say is go watch people getting off this ride and see if there's a single person who thinks this isn't one of the best coasters they've ever ridden. Number 1, Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point, built by RMC. Well, what can hold up against that incredible review? Well, how about a record holder for the most airtime on any coaster, with one of the best drops in the world? The longest coaster of the best manufacturer in the world. Sure, this isn't a launch coaster, there isn't any real theming on this ride, but it's the physical embodiment of non-stop thrill. It's long enough to have a whole 1,000 feet of track after Velocicoaster, which is already a long ride. It's a marathon of the best, and we'll see if it can continue to trump the competition. So that's the list for 2023. With a trip already in the works to go ride Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens Tampa, I can't wait to see what moves around next year. What rides would you move around on this list? And let me know below. And until next time, that's all from the shores of Island Coasters.